This is Tennyson E Stead, writer, director, and producer, founding member of 8-Sided Films, here with another 8-Sided blog. And today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about something I learned during fundraising, and which was sort of just sparked back into my mind by a friend by the name of Pippa Hinchley, which is that when you're dealing with investors or anyone who's handing you money, one of the most common mistakes that filmmakers make, and one of the things that you absolutely don't want to do, and this is a simple recommendation, but you don't want to put your headspace, your assumptions, when it comes to money, into the pockets of whoever it is that you're dealing with. So for example, the thing that Pippa brought up as a touch point on this was that when she went to Cannes, she learned that a lot of people are not interested in funding micro-budget cinema, even though you would think that the fact that the movie's cheaper would make it much, much more accessible to investors. And the reason why that is because people, like I said, they tend to assume that other people relate to money in the same way that we do. What we have to stop and ask ourselves is, why are people investing in film to begin with? And always, the reason why you invest in a high-risk business endeavor, and we've talked about this in the past, but if anybody tells you that film is not a high-risk endeavor, they're either lying to themselves or they're lying to you. And ultimately, there are a lot of banking tricks that you can use to try and make film lower risk, but you're swimming upstream. The reason why people invest in high-risk endeavors is because they're trying to expand their portfolio rapidly. They're willing to take some risk in exchange for high returns because they have a very high net worth. They have a lot of money in various assets. Net worth means the money that you have all over the place, the money that you have in stocks, the money that you have not just in cash but wherever, however, okay? The value of the things that you own is your net worth. It's the value of your portfolio. And when you use risk to expand the value of your portfolio, you're not going to take all of your assets and put them into something that can lose all of your money for you. You're going to take a moderate portion of those assets and spread them around in places where you can make a lot more money very quickly. And when one of those things does make you money, you take all the wealth that you've made and you put it all throughout your portfolio, not just in the high-risk stuff, but in everything, in the real estate and the stocks, so that it expands the value of the whole pie and not just the one slice that you could lose at any point in time. You see what I'm saying? So when somebody goes ahead and they invest in a film, it's because they can afford to, and it's because they're trying to make money quickly. Now, good high-risk investments typically make between 200% and 300% over a couple of years. If you're trying to make a movie successful, you want to sort of look for, how can I turn this $1 million or $5 million or $20 million or $100 million into 2 or 3 times that? Because if it's any less than that, then there's better investments. If you're trying to make a conservative investment, if you're trying to make a film that works like real estate, why not just invest in real estate? If you're trying to make a film that works like stocks, why not just invest in stocks? If you make a film that works like a good risk-based investment, you're going to make 200% to 300%, okay, within, let's say, 3-year time frame or so. So if you have a net worth of $100 million and you take $10 million, right, and you're going to put that $10 million in movies and oil investments and other things that can blow your portfolio up. So you can take one of those $10 million investments and make $3 or $4 million, put that money in the rest of your portfolio. How long is it going to take you to spend that $10 million in $10,000 chunks? How much time are you going to have to invest in putting that money in all these different places? And if one of those $10,000 investments blows up and makes you 200% or 300%, you just made $20,000 or $30,000 on that investment. Now compare that $20,000 or $30,000 to your $100 million portfolio, your total net worth. How much did your net worth just grow because of the time you invested in finding that $10,000 investment? Basically not at all. $10,000 is a drop in the bucket when the bucket is $100 million. So you can't afford to take the time to go and find micro-budget films to invest in because you're trying to make more money than that. So even if this micro-budget film is going to be a great investment and make you 5 times your money, that's still $50,000. Whereas if you find a $10 million movie that realistically can make you twice your money, technically it's not as good an investment as the $10,000 movie that's going to make you 5 times your money. But making twice your money on the $10 million makes you $20 million, which has an impact on the value of your $100 million portfolio. So when you look at the risk, when you look at how the people around you that might be investing in your movie might measure, for example, the budget and the risk of your film, don't look at it in terms of the money as it pertains to you in your life. Don't look at it in terms of how much $10,000 means to you. Look at it in terms of what that $10,000 means to them and how they relate to it. And talk to them on those terms. Number one, if you talk to them on those terms, they're going to see that you understand how money works to them. And they're going to trust you a lot more to manage that money. And secondly, it keeps you out of the headspace of desperation to think about how money relates to other people first. If you build that habit within yourself and you look at every single time you're trying to get someone to give you money in terms of what does this money mean to them, then you're not thinking about the fact that you haven't had a square meal in 2 days. Or whatever your problems are as a filmmaker, the bills that you haven't paid, all the problems that come with being a starving artist. You can't wear those problems on your sleeve when you're trying to convince someone else to invest in you, when you're trying to convince that someone else, when you're telling them that you're a reliable person and can manage their wealth. They don't want to be thinking about your problems. They want to be thinking about how you're going to create more wealth for them. So put yourself in the headspace of how they relate to their money. And if you don't know how they relate to their money, ask. Because investors love talking about money. I think that's probably a good place to end this 8-sided blog. But in the meantime, if you like the videos, please give us a thumbs up. Give us a like down here and subscribe if you want to see more content from 8-sided films. I've said it before, these last few weeks have been full of activity that I can't discuss, but there's going to be a lot of great news coming up and a lot of great content for people. And we're gearing up, ideally, to start pre-production on Quantum Theory very soon. So if you keep your eyes on the channel, you should start to see pre-production art and other stuff from our designers. And eventually we'll start talking about the rehearsal process. We'll get the actors back on the blog, and the team, the family, will start to come back together in relatively short order. So you don't want to miss that. Give us a subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a great night. Take care.